Advocate, a person who publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. She was a tireless advocate for social justice. Court-appointed special advocate, a highly trained volunteer appointed by the court to be the voice for abused and neglected children to whom they are assigned throughout the duration of the case. CASA Children's Intervention Services has 5 full-time and 4 part-time staff and 53 CASAs. Our advocates have been and always will be the heart of our program.
I think there's a real perception that child abuse is something that happens in certain neighborhoods in the county.
It's not just a certain socioeconomic class or a certain race. It's touching and impacting so many families. And if it's not a direct family member, then it's, a nephew, it's a cousin, it's the sibling of somebody, of a blended family.
The things we see, the neglect cases, the substance abuse cases, they're in every neighborhood, they're in every community. It's with our friends, it's with our neighbors. It's not something that happens on the other end of the county from where you may be.
When you talk to the average person on the street about abuse or neglect of a child, they think in terms of where somebody has physically beaten a child. More often, the types of cases we are seeing, it's more of what one might think of as neglect than as abuse, but it's every bit as dangerous to the child.
A lot of people's image of child abuse is battered younger children. What would surprise many people is the number of older teens who are being abused.
I think the residents of Fauquier and Rappahannock counties would be surprised at the variety of situations that foster kids are in. We have kids that come into foster care as babies, infants, that are just a few days old, all the way up to going to be 18 soon. They come from all walks of life. They have different life circumstances.
It's really shocking, the level of depravity and brutality. What does it take for a 15-year-old boy to run naked from his mother after being beaten bloody with an extension cord? What does that take? What does that look like?
I think people need to realize it's a much more pervasive issue that we can't just tidily sweep away.
One of the biggest challenges is just the day in, day out reading of the affidavits, which goes into excruciating detail of what these children have suffered at the hands of caregivers. When you read about the sexual abuse of a 3-month-old, how do you process that?
What I've noticed is we have more and more cases where a child has been sexually abused by a parent or a caretaker. That has spiked quite a bit.
Well, we're seeing an increase in substance misuse. We're seeing an increase in dual diagnosis, and so it's become much more complex.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most challenging are the fatalities. Every fatality in my mind that you have to investigate takes a little piece away. Truthfully, any fatality in a child abuse realm has the ability to be prevented.
Emotionally, it's difficult regardless of what case it is. Watching them with the aftermath, with the uncertainty, with the struggles with their family, wanting to go home or just wanting things to be better at home. So I think really all the cases, they're difficult. They pull at your heartstrings, that's why.
Our children that we serve have been violated in the most horrible manner, unthinkable, by the people that they trust. Then they're thrust into a court system that's there to help them, but it's very scary. Our advocates may be the only person that's constant throughout the whole process, and we are there to give them a voice.
A CASA is a trained volunteer who's appointed by local judges to be that extra set of eyes and ears for a child that's been abused and neglected. They visit with everyone that's involved in the child's life, and they compile all of their data together to write a court report, making a recommendation for the best interest of the child.
The eyes and ears of the CASA worker are very important to the full picture of what's going on with the child.
We are sometimes viewed as the bad guys, and so the CASA worker is able to go in and have that softer touch. And a lot of times they're able to glean information from the families that we can't always get. But when we get those CASA reports, sometimes they're so fruitful for us, it empowers us to work with the families a lot more. So we're grateful for our CASA workers.
One of the most important ways that CASA can be involved and can help our families is by being a part of the team. CASA can ask a question and might receive this layer of the onion. Someone else may come back in and ask that question and get a little bit more of the onion. But the more people that we have on the team that are all focused and working on that same goal, the better picture we have.
I first learned about the CASA program about 24 years ago. It just seemed like something that could help the children of our community. It will bring a level of feedback to the court that we've not had to this point.
Because the CASA person from a child's perspective often is just a person, and they don't have specific legal overlays. They're just there for the child. I think the child can relate to that much more. I think they can interact much more easily, and I think that really gives us some valuable insights.
The information that is in a CASA report is just different than what you get from the social workers because the role is different. The CASA report generally includes paragraphs of description about a child, and it allows me to paint a picture of what the child's life is like and use that into hopefully making a good decision.
We have relied principally upon our guardians ad litem for the children as well as the social workers, but they can only do so much. The CASAs can devote more time to it. They can develop a more immediate and substantial relationship with the children, and we can take direct reports from them if there are things we need to know and act on in a case.
I have one case that is currently going now, and the advocate has been just phenomenal. Because that they were so comfortable with her, they started to share things that were going on that nobody else knew about. Things that were a safety concern and things that could definitely put them in a position of being abused again.
I recently had a case where the child had been in foster care for a period of 3 years. 3 years in, I was a new judge. The social worker was a new social worker. The foster family was a new foster family, but CASA had been there throughout. So she was really the only one that was in a position to be able to talk about the child from entry into foster care on a personal level until that hearing 3 years later.
Our advocates are there to help describe to the judge what's going on, that the court orders are being followed. I can't think of another organization that's more important. These are the children of our community and our future.
We've really renewed our focus on building strong relationships with our partners in the community, particularly DSS. To really have a strong, trusting relationship is so important to the work that we do.
Some of the changes I have seen are we've expanded into Warren and Fauquier, which really warms my heart that those children need just as much help as the ones in Prince William County. We also have a physical presence now there, and we're very involved with the court systems. Additionally, I've seen a huge change in the fundraising and the resource development. Resource development has had to change because you may remember in 2008, 2009, a lot of grants went away, Freddie Mae, Freddie Mac, that started to end. So we've had to, what I've seen is a big change in the way that fundraising has been conducted, and it's become more and more important.
What's really difficult is to make the community understand really what we do. It's hard to promote the program because these are all juveniles. Their records are extremely well protected by confidentiality laws. We can't share stories and particulars and necessarily happy endings. So it's very hard sometimes to communicate the work that you do without exposing those children. So we're very dependent on the word getting out through other means, and that's primarily through our community partners as we work within the court system with DSS, who know the importance of our work and can really enunciate what our particular role is and how we help expand their vision and their insight into what's going on with these families.
Of course, just becoming aware of what CASA is and what CASA does, you can't not want to help when you know what's going on with these children. Being able to actually be a part of making a difference from the side of the board has been an amazing experience for me. Just being able to give what I can to this organization that I think is so important for our community.
The other thing that we have done is really put a focus on recruiting the highest quality advocates to enable us to be absolutely the most effective team we can be to serve the children that are appointed to us.
We try to always have people who have specific type of skills to offer to CASA so that we can make it as good as we can make it. I think it's the people involved that make the biggest difference, and it's been getting better every year. We need people who are dedicated and have room in their heart and time in their lives to be able to dedicate themselves to a worthy cause. There are children that need our help right now. There are children being abused as we speak.
Well, when people are interested in becoming a volunteer, it's usually because of a real love and concern for children. And that's probably the bottom line as to what's important for a volunteer, but also the ability to connect with families and children of different backgrounds is really important.
It can be frustrating at times, there can be some real challenges and obstacles. So you have to have a passion for this that's going to keep you going when all those other things around aren't working. You're the voice for the children, and you have to make sure that you're heard and something gets done. And that's something that everyone says, you're a voice for the children in the court system, and everyone kind of brushes over that. But that's really what we are.
The other thing that is a challenge is that our program is very tightly regulated. There's big constraints on the program, and we're held to very tight ratios. How many advocates can each supervisor supervise? How many cases can each advocate have? And so we're always trying to find that balance between caseload and supervisors, which makes our ability to raise funds to support the program critical, because we never do want to be in a situation where we're not able to serve 100% of those kids that come to us by way of the court.
Ideally, I would like to see there not be any more abuse cases, but that's not our job. Our job is to help these children that are in the court system. In the next 25 years, I would hope that we would be able to partner with other associations or other groups that can maybe work the other side of helping prevent more.
In the next 25 years, I would like to see there no longer be a need for CASA. Unfortunately, we can't control how people are to children. Knowing that that can't go away, what would be really helpful is if we could spend more time and energy on helping the children than the amount of time and energy that we have to spend raising money to support the program.
We want to protect these children, but we also want to heal the family. They want to go home. They want to be with their family, and they want a happy and healthy family. We see how their children's story impacts the advocate emotionally, and how the frustrations they have, the obstacles they have to overcome, all of that, and they're the ones who can make a difference.
Without CASA, the court would have far less information to make important decisions for children.
Without CASA, I don't think we would have the insight or the judge would have the insight into these children's lives.
Without CASA, we wouldn't be able to see behind those closed doors and into these folks' actual lives. We'd be groping in the dark for half the things we do.
Without CASA, my life would be a lot harder. The CASAs give me a window into the lives of children and to make sure that they get the best lives possible.
Without CASA, we would not have as many eyes and ears on that child and helping that child.
Without CASA, we would be missing a very important link in helping us do the work that we do.
Without your support, we could find ourselves in a situation which we've never been in our 25-year history, which would be to not be able to provide a well-trained advocate to each and every one of the children coming to us through the juvenile and domestic relations court systems.
Without you, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to expand over the last 25 years.
Without you, there will be children who need to be heard and won't have a voice.
Without you, the children in our community would not have as much hope. Please help us help the children.
Without you, we couldn't help these children that have been beaten and battered and burned and locked in cages. Without you, we couldn't support them in the courtroom while they are going through undoubtedly the worst thing they've gone through. We need you.